Here we are. Okay, I'm gonna start, okay?
Okay.
Oh, was that a, okay. Can you speak as I think I could hear you? No, I couldn't. I thought it was my imagination. Okay, I'm gonna admit the people first, Dave, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's great to see you. And before I even begin introducing Dave Nichols, let me just tell you that I'm tremendously proud that we're able to do something like this evening. Dave is not only a wonderful friend, he's a member of Temple but Sholom, but he's also really a source of inspiration for me. And as such, I cannot wait to have this conversation with him here online and for all of us to be able to hear his story. As way of introduction, let me just tell you a quick anecdote. I don't know, a couple of years ago, after Shabbat services, we were in the Onyx Shabbat, and one of our members, Joe Sama, who's a wonderful guy, and many of you know Joe, approached me and said, "You see that person over there in the wheelchair?" I said, "Yes." Well, he's new to our community, and he is a member of the Israeli bobsled team, and he's also the goalie for the sled team of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So I turned to Joe and I said, "Are they giving out alcohol tonight? Because are you crazy? Like seriously, how can he be in the Israeli bobsled team? First of all, Israel doesn't have a bobsled team. Second of all, I'm sorry, but he doesn't seem to be in the type of shape that you need to be to actually be in the bobsled team. And third, Joe, come on, don't do this to me." Well, then we went over to Dave, and Joe introduced me to him, and it turned out that Joe was not lying. This is all for real. And that's how the story begins. And ever since I first met Dave, I really became very interested not only in his story, but in his motivation to be able to do everything he does. Now, let's fast forward a couple of years, and because of this pandemic, during the summer, all of my family was together here in Las Vegas, and we went for a week to Park City in Utah. And Dave spent part-time in Park City because that's where the Olympic Park, where the bobsled was one of the two bobsled tracks in the United States is. The other one is in Lake Placid, New York. So Dave goes a lot of the time to Park City to practice there on the bobsled. And Dave reached out to me and said, "Rabbi, I heard you're in Park City. Let me drive you around. Let me show you the Olympic Park." I said, "Okay, sure. Why not? This is going to be great." And so I took the entire family, actually, and Dave was like the most amazing host. And another friend of ours who lives there, David Lanskowski, who's also a member of the temple, actually joined us. And it ended up being like an amazing, amazing day. And I learned more about Dave than I ever knew. But, besides me asking all of these technical details about bobsledding and how do you get to the Olympic Games and why do you want to go to the Olympic Games and why do you want to go to the Israeli team, which I'm sure he's going to talk about tonight, I really was interested in how do you do this, right? He has a major challenge to overcome, and it's like nothing. I mean, look, I say it's like nothing because he makes it look like nothing. I'm sure it's not nothing, right? But I get up with a cold in the morning and I'm having a bad day. So this gentleman here is trying to get to the Olympic Games and represent Israel in the Winter Olympic Games, right? Because we're known for Israel's known for its snow. I mean, at least in the Hermon, but I don't think there's a lot of bobsledding there. So let me highlight Dave so you all can meet him, and we'll take it from there. How are you, Dave? Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Rabbi. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. How's Park City?
It's nice. It's nice. It's a little warm today. Not a whole lot of snow, unfortunately.
Look, let's not talk about warm. It's like 125 degrees here. I mean, that at least is what it feels like. But anyway, I wanted to look at the background on my screen. It's Beijing 2022. It's special for you.
It's great. I love it, man. Thank you so much. It's awesome. I need that.
So, Dave, I just really look. I know you have a whole presentation, and I know there's a lot of things to be said tonight, and I wanted to tell the story, but I want to begin by asking you a very simple question. You are clearly a born athlete. Before you were doing this, you were doing speed racing and skis, and that's how the accident happened. And you can talk about that if you wish to talk about that, or if somebody asks you. But my real interest here is you could be an athlete for any country in the world. If you tried, I can assure you could be in the Paralympics bobsled team of the United States for sure. You are good enough to do that, if not more. Mm-hmm. Why are you so? I mean, and I know why I would do it, but you made Aliyah, you went to live in Israel, you packed your house, you packed your dog, you took him with you, you went to Machon Wingate, which is where all of the physical preparation of the Israeli athletes takes place. Why are you so bent on doing this for Israel? What's the story there? That's a side of the story that's a very important story.
It's a good question. And Rabbi, first I want to thank you and for this opportunity to share with everyone about the sport and what our goal is and what we're doing. But to answer your question, I think that you would agree that way too often the state of Israel and Jews get a bad rap. Whether it's in the UN or Deshaun Williams or other misguided anti-Semitism or jokes or discriminating comments, it just has to stop, and it's not right. And I would bet that many of the folks that are on the program with us have been on the receiving end of anti-Semitism at work or in the locker room, in school or university campus or elsewhere. So, when you ask me, why do I risk my life going 80 or 100 miles an hour on an icy track up to 4 or 5 Gs, of gravity and pressure to make it down and not crash?
When I saw that track in Park City, I don't know how you do this. I mean, I don't know. I would not get on a bobsled. I'm not crazy. Seriously, you have to be out of your mind.
Well, I do it because I'm a Jew and I'm proud of my heritage, and one whose story is far from over in the world of sport. My Jewish heritage, my ancestry, and my identity is very important to me, as is our public image and how Jews and the state of Israel are perceived around the world. So, I cannot and will not tolerate anti-Semitism or discrimination based on religion, color, race, ability, disability, or even sexual orientation. I mean, everybody deserves an equal opportunity to enjoy life, participate in sport, have a good job, family, opportunity, to win. And I'm not running for office or anything here, but, I'm just really asking for your understanding and support. This is one of the main reasons why I continue to compete for Israel, because I'm proud of my heritage. And I think, as I say, way too often, the state of Israel and us Jews get a bad rap. And I think if there's anything I can do to combat anti-Semitism and, show a positive image of Israel and Israeli athletes and Jews in sport while I'm competing on the world stage, I'm going to do it. So that's part of my why, if you will.
Here comes the obvious question then. Why bobsledding? I mean, you could have chosen anything else. Why bobsledding?
Well, believe it or not, everyone in the sport at some point in time are supposed to be sitting down in the sled. It doesn't always happen. I'm sure if you've seen any bobsled on TV, sometimes you see what they call a misload, and somebody's hanging out the side or they're upside down or what have you. But you know, it's a focus of concentration, the speed, the G forces, and as you mentioned, I was a skier in college, and you know had a NCAA scholarship to University of Colorado, and I was doing giant slalom and I was doing downhill and whatnot later on. And you know, when you get used to speed and those thrills, it's kind of crazy. And if something happens, you have an accident, whatever, you miss that, and you need that, and it's just in your blood. It's I can't explain it, but you know, when I had that first opportunity to drive, I just knew that it was something that I had to do and that I wanted to do ever since being a little kid, to be honest with you. Just watching the Olympics on TV, it was always something that really interested me. It was like a choreographed routine, how all the guys ran and jumped in all together at once, and it was beautiful. And you know, just seeing the sled pinned up against the wall and just was so exciting and so fast. It was just something I had to do.
So, you know, the day we were in Park City, right after you left us, I went home with the kids in the Airbnb where we were staying, and we watched Cool Runnings, which is the movie of the story of the Jamaican bobsled team.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't stop thinking, you know, they made fun of the Jamaican bobsled team. I can only imagine how they're going to make fun of the Israeli bobsled team, right? It's like instead of like, hey man, let's get it, it's like, oi, oi, you know, like the bobsled is going too fast. It's going to be something.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, they call me Cool Shmuel, you know, I mean, let my people slide. So we have a couple nicknames, you know, that we're the Frozen Chosen, and you know, that's how we work. But it's funny you mention the Jamaicans, because you know, they still have a team and they're always out there working with us, helping us move the sled in and out of the bins, off the trucks, onto the track, you know, back onto the track, or back onto the truck, back up to the top. So they're good guys, and we're always we're always glad to kind of be hanging with those guys and support them. They support us.
That's amazing. And then, of course, here's the other question. How did you, okay, so once you get the idea, because I know it was your idea, right?
Yes.
How do you get the rest of the crew together? How do you get the coach? How do you get a sled? I mean, the sleds are not cheap. They're like tremendously expensive. And as I understand it, you pay for all of this yourself. So how do you get all this together, Dave?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, it's definitely been a challenge. And, you know, first of all, just being, you know, in the chair, I had to convince a lot of people that it was safe and that I could drive. And because I've been involved in the sport for really, you know, almost 15 years, you know, the coaches around the world, they knew that I could drive. Some of the track operators later on, after a lot of discrimination, if you will, I was held back for a number of years where they actually wouldn't let me or my team or some other guys who were in chairs participate. We finally changed, you know, some stereotypes. We changed some mindsets, and they let us on the track. You know, then we kind of petitioned the Israeli Olympic Committee and to tell them what we were doing. And it was actually last year.
They must have thought you were crazy.
Yeah. Well, they never had, actually, they did have some folks in bobsled like 20 years ago, but they really didn't go anywhere, to be honest with you. So, and I think maybe it was Mount Hermon they practiced or something like that. I don't know. But in any case, you know, we actually did so well in our first year racing in a two-man sled, because there's different disciplines. There's a four-man sled and a two-man sled. We did well enough that we actually advanced to the highest level in the sport, which is known as the World Cup Championships in a non-Olympic year. And my goal, you know, I mean, I'm up against gold medalists, you know, Justin Cripps, Alana Myers, all the best, all the Germans. You know, they got two guys running, they got four guys running, but I didn't let that deter me. I was just focused, and my goal was, you know, not to crash and not to come in last. You know,
By the way, let me just tell people, because those of us who are not familiar with bobsledding, one of the things that I learned when we were at Park City, this is 100% a German sport, okay? They measure the incline of the blades. the weight has to be not, I mean, it's not supposed to be a minimum weight, it has to be in between a weight. I mean, it's just like a crazy thing. Only Germans can compete in this, okay? This is certainly not for Jamaicans and absolutely not for Jews. So I'm actually very proud of that. Anytime we can defeat the Germans on anything, it's a good day.
It is very technical. And matter of fact, when we qualified for the World Cup Championships, it was in Whistler in Vancouver, Canada, which is known as one of the fastest and most difficult tracks in the world. And if you remember in the 2010 Olympics, unfortunately, there was a Georgian slider that missed a steer. You can only control the sled when it's under pressure, and you have to know where those pressures are. And he was a rookie. He didn't have enough practice in the sport. He missed a steer and unfortunately wrapped himself around the pole and passed away.
Ooh.
So it's a challenging sport. It's pretty risky. I mean, we're doing, on that track, we're doing 100 miles an hour, and you have 4 to 5 Gs. And just to give you an idea, when the astronauts take off, they're hitting up to 3 Gs. And I've actually had guys in the back of the sled pass out. So I'm yelling brakes, we finished the course and nothing's happening. So I have to do emergency steers, bring the sled into the wall, go around the emergency track, and hopefully not ruin our blades, which cost like $10,000 a piece if they go on the cement when we run out of ice. So it's a challenging sport, but it's super fun. And, I put out some feelers on Facebook and also dealing with the Israeli Olympic Committee. And when they saw that, wow, these guys qualified, they didn't come in last, they didn't crash. Even the first night of official training on that track, there were 19 crashes in a row. And let me tell you, that sled weighs not just 100 pounds, 200 pounds, you're talking over 1,000 pounds with everybody in it. And you're upside down on your head, and your shoulders on the ice, you're getting ice burn, you're going 80, 100 miles an hour. And it seems like a car crash that never ends. It's really,
Dave, let me just say, you are already in a wheelchair. You want to get in a second wheelchair? What's wrong with you? Seriously. It's a Jewish question, right?
There's not a whole lot more that can go wrong, Rabbi.
Look, one of the things I like about you is that you're able to talk about this in this way. And you do not let this stop you. On the contrary, you make this propel you. And that's a wonderfully inspiring thing. So let me ask you, where did you find the coach and where did you find the other guys?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky as far as the coach goes. I saw something, believe it or not, a post on the Federation website for the sport, that there was a coach from Great Britain who had some difficulties or whatever with the administration for the Great British team and the Great British Federation. And he said he's going to be available. So I went ahead and contacted him. Turns out he's a 3-time Olympian in bobsled. And he started basically and ran the whole Great British program. And he said, Dave, let's meet in Innsbruck at the track, at the Olympic track in Eagles in Innsbruck, Austria. And I said, well, I have a race in Switzerland. So after that, yeah, let's hook up. And it was his opportunity to see what I could do. Can I drive? Do I know how to drive a sled? Do I drive too much? Do I not drive enough? Do I crash? What's going to happen? So our goal there, again, we're up against able-bodied people with 2 arms, 2 legs, everything that are running, was not to crash and not to come in last. And we did well. And he said, Dave, I see you're coachable. You're taking my coaching. We'll work together. And from that point on, he's been working with me and coaching. And he actually believes that it's an asset that I get into the sled in a 4-man. I get into the sled before everybody starts to run.
And the rules allow for that, right?
The rules allow for that. Only if you're the pilot and you have a pulled hamstring or broken ankle or broken leg, you can get in the sled before everybody starts to run. You get a green light, 60 seconds to go, and everybody pushes.
This is like selling your chametz on Pesach. Right? This is a loophole. This is a legal fiction. It's actually very cool.
Yeah. And so the rules allow for it. And he thinks that because I'm already seated, that the other guys are going to be able to run longer and further in terms of pushing the sled, because you win or lose in this sport not just by a minute or two. It's not even by a second. It can be a tenth of a second or even a hundredth of a second. So we're looking for guys. Matter of fact, we're still building the team. We have a set number of guys, but we're always looking to identify other athletes, maybe from track and field or football or something like that, that maybe have a need for speed, but see it as a challenge and are looking to be a brakeman, because we want to grow the team. We're also looking to identify other female athletes as well that are interested in the sport. So, there's some criteria that we have that's set up that the Israeli Bobsled Federation and the National Olympic Committee actually has. So if anyone's interested in any of that, feel free to write to me directly. My email, by the way, is very easy to remember. It's bobsled, BOBSLED, gold, like the metal, GOLD, @gmail.com.
So I can write that in the chat so everybody can.
Sure. Yeah, bobsledgold@gmail.com. And so, if you'd like, I could share a little bit more in terms of, how I got interested in the sport and a little bit more about the team and kind of take it from there and give you guys a little bit of history about myself as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
by the way, I have a link to a video here, Dave, that we will play, but just first tell go for it, and then we'll play the video whenever you tell me.
Sure. Well, as far as I'm concerned, a little bit about me. In high school, I was always pretty athletic, and I grew up back east in a small suburb of New York, actually in Jersey. I don't know if anybody's heard of Waldwick or Ridgewood, Paramus, or Teaneck out there in Hackensack, Bergen County.
That's where all the kosher restaurants are. That's how I know it.
The good kosher restaurants.
You go there to exercise, I go there to eat. That's it.
Well, in high school, I was a member of the football team and then later on the ski team. And as I said earlier, I got a ski scholarship to CU in Boulder, and then had to move over to Colorado State because they dropped my major at the time. So I was doing NCAA skiing and was always pretty athletic and whatnot. But a few years later, something had happened that had really changed my life forever. And I was practicing a run.
Hey, let me interrupt you. I'm
Sure.
Sorry to do this, but one of my friends, one of my rabbi friends, one of my colleagues just wrote me in a text, how do you get this guy? I mean, he's unbelievable. So I nobody believes me that you're a member of my congregation, right? But I'm already telling all my friends that you will go on Zoom and talk to their congregations too, because some of them are watching us right now. So just you will talk to anyone.
For sure. Well, again, and I really have to say that, you guys, when I didn't know anybody, I knew one person when I came to Las Vegas, and you guys welcomed me in. Everybody was approachable and everybody was friendly and everybody was talking with me. And so, I really, hats off to you, Rabbi, and your leadership, and everybody in the congregation has been so nice to me. It's just been awesome. So, and I actually have some other people I have to thank along the way. I'll do that later.
It takes two hands to clap. If you're nice, we're nice. That's the way the world works, right? Anyway, back to you. I'm sorry, I just want my friend to hear what I just said, because I want to make sure they know they can actually get you on Zoom. No problem.
Yeah, no worries. I'm booked up until next February, but I'll make an exception.
Okay, great. Go on.
So
sorry.
Anyway, I had this situation that happened one day. I was practicing a set of racing gates in California, and I was up in Big Bear Lake, and I literally just left the start house, getting ready to run some gates on a slalom course, and maybe I was going 5 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, something plowed into me. And I'm 6'4", or I was 6'4", 250 pounds. And I knew it was either an avalanche or like a snowmobile or something. Fast forward, I woke up 3 days later in the hospital, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't move. And I knew that there was like some major stuff going on. And, I really started to wonder, what's going to happen here? How am I going to support myself? I'm going to be able to have a family, what's going to happen with my life here? So all these crazy things that were going through my mind, and it was time to either sink or swim. And I think I have a couple photos there. One of me in the hospital there. I don't know if there's a way to get that on the screen, but
I have a video. You want me to play the video?
no, that's okay. Well, we can probably play the video there in a few minutes. No worries.
Okay.
I can get that going. But anyway, so there's this issue that happened, and it really changed my life. And I turned to sports because it was always something that motivated me, and because I knew life in a chair, in a wheelchair, was going to be different, and it was going to be difficult. But I had just made up my mind. I was persistent and focused. I was just going to do what I could do to get back out there. And really, thanks to Hashem, I mean, I was able to participate in wheelchair rugby and some other sports. So kind of use the sports to turn myself around.
Seriously, can you pick like wheelchair golf or something? You have to go wheelchair rugby, bobsled. By the way, Dave is also the sled team goalie for the Las Vegas Golden Knights for the NHL. Just for you to know, just in case you think he was an underachiever, okay? Okay.
Yeah, but I'll tell you a secret. They don't pay us like the NHL, unfortunately, which they should. But
I have a feeling
it's
they'll
what it
do it
is.
one day.
Hopefully, exactly. So anyway, you know, I was invited by a organization up here in Park City called the National Ability Center. And they said, why don't you come out and play hockey? I said, hockey? I said, I've never played hockey before I got paralyzed. I have no idea what what are you talking about? So they put me in a sled, and they gave me these two sticks to hold on to, which everybody uses to propel themselves around the ice in sled hockey. The only problem was I couldn't hold on to the sticks because part of my injury was in my neck, which affected my arms and my legs. And I mean, I couldn't hold on to the stick. So the coach says, you're a big guy, why don't you go in the goal? I said, goal? I have no idea what I'm doing in the goal. I've never played hockey before in my life. He said, just go in the goal and let's see what happens. Rabbi, I hated it. I can't tell you if you've ever been hit in the head with a puck and had your bell rung, or like in the arm or the, yeah, there's chest pads. Of course I had crappy equipment when I was starting out. And every time the puck hit me in the head, I would like forget who was president, you know, which isn't bad these days anyway, I guess.
That could be good, yeah.
Yeah, it could be a good thing, right? So anyway, you know, and then I get hit in the puck where I had some sensation and feeling. It was horrible. I can't tell you, Rabbi, I hated it, but I wasn't going to quit. Quitting is not in my vocabulary. I've never quit anything, and I don't quit on my business partners. I don't quit on my friends, my supporters, my family. So I was going to stick with it, and I was determined. And Rabbi, I swear, one day I went like this, and all of a sudden there was a puck in my glove. I don't know how it happened, but it got there. And I was like, wow, maybe I can do this. So I got more and more involved in the sport, and I started stopping more pucks. And it turns out they recruited me to be the goalie for the Utah team. We were like the best team in the country like 10 years ago. And then a guy that I recruited to be involved in bobsled to help participate in the sport, who lived in Vegas, said, Dave, the NHL has a team here. They just started the Vegas Golden something or another. Maybe you want to come down and check it out. I said, okay, whatever. So I came down, checked it out. They checked me out. I stopped a bunch of pucks. They said, you're our goalie. I said, fine. So that was the one person that I knew, and it was awesome. So I was really lucky to have that opportunity. And anyway, fast forward, you know, I started to experience some discrimination in sport, which unfortunately, it's not the only place that people are discriminated against. But, you know, going back to the Olympic Park, I wanted to learn the sport. I was actually invited to come to the Olympic Park. Somebody said, come to the Olympic Park. I said, why? They said, come. I said, why? They said, come. I said, no. They said, come. I said, okay, I'll come. I mean, the guy was badgering me. I said, okay, I come. Turned out to be the lady that invited me to the sled hockey from the National Ability Center. And I got there, I saw another guy in a wheelchair get in a sled, and he disappeared, bam. And it was like, wow, that looked like really cool. And I wanted to try it. So I tried it, and they let me have it a go from one of the lower starts. You don't start skiing from the top. You don't start bobsled from the top. So, you know, by the way, you know the only place you start from the top?
What?
It's when you're digging a hole.
Okay. Okay.
That's a joke.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll keep my day job.
Yeah.
So anyway, I said, this is great. This is amazing. The focus, the concentration, the speed. I love it. I love it. I love it. Fast forward again, I wanted to enroll in a driving school, which you have to take if you're going to learn to drive and progress up the track, like ski school, right? You learn how to ski, you move up the mountain. Well, they wouldn't let me enroll in the driving school. And why? Well, they wouldn't answer me. And they just ignored my emails, ignored everything. This is crazy, So there was discrimination, and it was really bugging me because I said to myself, you know what? I think, wouldn't this be a great idea? Wouldn't this become a Paralympic sport? Because there's other people in chairs and amputees, veterans, whatever. They want to go 100 miles an hour. They want to enjoy the track. They want to have this opportunity to live life. And if this is something that gets you off the couch or gets you away from alcohol or drugs or substance abuse, and out on the track or outside doing something off the couch, out of your wheelchair, we should be allowed to do it. Not only that, we want to train. We want to be able to compete as well. So this opportunity was not there. Well, I pressed them. And matter of fact, the lady who was the executive director of the National Ability Center said, hey, you know what? This is a public park, you guys. You can't deny this gentleman the opportunity to participate. So they closed the park down for 2 hours a day and gave me a private school for a week and a half.
Wow.
And I made it from the top. I made it down, no problem, my first run. So I was absolutely amazed, and I knew I could drive. But at that point in time, I had to share it with other people and other friends who were in wheelchairs or veterans or amputees. So I started the world's first ever adaptive bobsled team. It was called the U.S. Adaptive Bobsled Team. And we soon became, I think back in 2010, we then got our official 501c3 status. The Dana and Christopher Reeve Foundation, bless their souls, they donated a sled to us as well. And these sleds, a used sled costs $10,000 or $20,000. So this was an awesome thing that they did for us. And we got it modified, and guys were able to participate in the sport. So anyway, the sport grew. We finally caught the attention of the international governing body of the sport. And the president came over to me and he said, Dave, I'm going to make a promise to you. What's that? Well, we think that, we see your vision, and we think that this can become a full medal Paralympic sport. And incidentally, it was somebody on the U.S. team that gave me the opportunity to be what they call a forerunner, or a pace car, if you will, in an official able-bodied World Cup race. Wow. And this is what really started, and it was televised all around the world. I mean, when you're a bobsledder in Europe, it's like you're a NFL football player or basketball player here in the United States. So it's a lot different. The sport isn't all that well known here, but in any case, they saw that I could drive. They saw that my guy could push the sled, and it was amazing. So he made that promise to me, and before you knew it, there were some opportunities for World Cup competitions for people in chairs and amputees. We brought the sled up to Canada. We showed them what we were doing. Great Britain, and then Latvia came on board. I recruited somebody from Greece. I recruited somebody from New Zealand, Australia. It was amazing, and it really took hold. But getting back to your question about, sliding for Israel, the International Olympic Committee and the International Paralympic Committee that govern the sports for the Olympics gave us a certain amount of criteria, and they said, you know what? You have to have a certain amount of athletes from each country, from each continent, from each nation, if you're going to be a Paralympic sport. So about a year before they were scheduled to vote to make it an official sport for guys in chairs, we found out we were short a country. I said, and the International Federation said, does anybody have dual citizenship, or are you willing to get dual citizenship to maybe help the sport and help us reach our goal? And so I started to think to myself, I said, you know what? I always wanted to do Aliyah. I said, wouldn't it be incredible if it's the Jews Wouldn't it be incredible if it's the Jews and the Israeli bobsled team that becomes the 14th country and helps the sport become a worldwide sport?
You're gonna get your own movie, like the Jamaicans.
Well, this was an opportunity for me to really to move to Israel, to really embrace, my religion and my heritage, and live there, and it was amazing. And so the Israeli Olympic Committee put me up at Mahon Wingate in Netanya, where I lived, me and little TJ, my little dog. He's sleeping over there. We lived there for almost a year until it was time for bobsled season to start. We went swimming in the Galilee. We went to Mount Hermon. We went everywhere. But we did our conditioning and training in Netanya in Wingate. And it was an amazing experience. Unfortunately, the International Olympic Committee did not award full medal status, which was a huge letdown to a lot of people and a lot of athletes. But what they did do is said, you could try again. So this September, as a matter of fact, they're going to be voting again to consider the sport of bobsled to be an official Paralympic sport. But that's good. And we're hoping to develop a Paralympic team of men and or women for other folks that have maybe suffered trauma, veterans of war, whatever. And we're going to get that going. But one of the reasons I'm actually moving forward in the sport on the able-bodied side is because, as I said, we've all experienced discrimination. We've all experienced anti-Semitism, as I said earlier, whether it's in the UN or somebody like Deshaun Williams. I can't tolerate that. And again, if I can be the guy that helps promote the state of Israel or helps promote the sport and Jews in sport in a positive light, hey, I'm just like everybody else. So whether I'm black or brown or green or Jewish or cat, it doesn't matter. This is all about sport. Let's come together. Let's have some peace. Let's just make it happen.
I have news for you. You're not like anybody else. You're like a hero, Dave. Okay. I wish you were like everybody else, because then everybody will be incredible. And you're not like everybody else. You are a very, very unique person.
Well, I appreciate that, Rabbi. And I was blessed to actually. I'll show you this. I was blessed to win the very first. It's backwards. Look at that. It's the very first medal for Israel. It's a gold medal, believe it or not, that we won in Lake Placid for Israel. And the next day we won a silver medal for Israel. And then a week later, it was here in Park City, we won a third place medal. And I don't know if you can see, it says Park City on it, and on the back, but it's backwards there, unfortunately. I guess that's the way the camera works. But anyway,
no, we see it okay. Don't worry, we see it okay.
Well, Rabbi, one of these medals actually belongs to the congregation, because I have to tell you, there were some folks that welcomed me in, as I said earlier, to the congregation, that we started to talk, and they knew what I was doing. And they said, we're gonna help you, Dave, because we understand you need a bobsled. You can't slide without a bobsled. And so, but it was like folks like Joe Sama, Ken Hecht, Steve Foreman, those guys all got together and helped, accept some donations for the nonprofit. People got their tax write-offs, but they helped us get our first sled, our first 4-man sled. It was a used sled. It was $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. It was a good deal. But the problem here is that Lee, who's our coach, Lee Johnston, the 3-time Olympian, says, Dave, if we're going to do this and we're going to win, you need every advantage. So that means we have to get a Wallner sled from the Germans, which is the top of the line sled. So we're talking about probably at least $100,000, which is I don't happen to have that in my piggy bank, but one of the reasons I feel blessed to be able to share this opportunity is, we're looking to identify perhaps some partners, some corporations, and build some partnerships, a long-term partnership, where perhaps the message that I'm sending for Israel, for Jews in sport, to combat anti-Semitism and discrimination. Maybe there's some other folks or companies or corporations out there that feel the same way that I do that might want to partner with me and help us get to Beijing in 2022. But our goal isn't just to get there. Our goal is to win. And when we were at the World Championships in Vancouver, and we saw 19 sleds in a row crash one right after another, it was not a good situation. But the little guy in the wheelchair made it down without crashing. And
you're not a little guy. You're like not a little guy.
But a secret, Rabbi, a week before, I had 4 crashes in a row. For the first time in my life, I've been driving 15 years. For the first time in my life, I started to have a little bit of self-doubt. But you know what? It's not curve 50-50. They call it curve 50-50 because 50% of the sleds go over if you saw the Olympics.
Yes.
It's what you do in curve 10, 11, and 12. And when I finally had a coach that came and filmed and said, Dave, this is what, you're on the wrong line. This is what you need to do. Beautiful. We didn't crash. We came in 29th out of 36 sleds. And I mean, I was happy with that. We were on international TV. You know, I didn't want to let Israel down, and I didn't want to crash because I had already busted my hand a week before and tore up the sled. So anyway, it's an exciting sport. It really is. But unfortunately, it's that's why they call it the champagne of sports. It's challenging, but it's also pricey. And because we caught the attention of the Israeli Olympic Committee, with the budget being about $175,000, they're reimbursing us for some of the track fees. Every time I go down the track, it's 50, 60, 70 bucks. So they're reimbursing me about $2,000 or $3,000. But when you're talking about a $150,000 budget, I still need to, I still need to identify folks that maybe are willing to help and share.
I can imagine the first time the Israelis met you, they're like, hey, Menachem, mazet bobsled? Mazet bobsled? What is the bobsled? They had no clue, probably, right? Except that one of them had a German grandfather.
Yep.
That's about it.
Yeah.
So,
there might be some folks that are sharing on the video with us that maybe they know someone or they don't know someone. Maybe they know someone that knows someone that might, share our message and be willing to help us. It would be amazing because the Adaptive Bobsled and Skeleton Association, it's www.abasa, so ABASA, Adaptive Bobsled and Skeleton Association.org. We're a nonprofit 501c3. When you get a chance, feel free to check out the website. There's a beautiful video of the track that I'm talking about, the World Cup Whistler track, the World Cup Championships, on the website, abasa.org. And feel free to take a look at that. But what I'd like to do now is show a little video. And in part of the video, you might get to see a little bit about what I see as a pilot, but also you might see me doing this with my eyes closed. And the reason for that is that all of us as pilots literally drive the track 100 times in our mind before we get on the track. Because number one, if I sneeze, that could be the end of the race. If I forget to steer the sled down and take the nose of the sled and I forget to steer the nose down, we're going to go up through the roof. It's going to be all over. So people think, they see it on TV, they think it's easy, but it's very challenging. And anyway, why don't we go to the video here and let everybody enjoy that for a few minutes. And by the way, if anybody has questions or questions, we can, at the end of the presentation, I'll answer all the questions I can.
Okay, so here we go. Let me see if it's, I'm sure it's working. Hold on one second.
Maybe we can make it bigger?
No, I'll make it bigger. I just want to make sure it's optimized.
Okay.
Advanced. Okay, here we go. Optimize screen share for video clip. That's what I wanted. See, I can get a PhD on Zoom now. So let's go.
Oh, nice.
Let's go here. And oops, it's now. Oh no. Slow down. Oh, one second. Can you see it?
I can see it. It's a smaller box, but I can see it.
Okay, let me, you can make it bigger on your screen, okay?
Oh, okay.
Let me play it.
Hi there, my name is David C. Nichols, and I'd like to invite you to join my team. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that nothing is impossible when you dream, adapt, and overcome. February 28th, 2002, something happened that changed my life forever. I didn't know it, but I would never ski, rollerblade, play the drums, piano, or even run on the beach or play with the sand in between my toes ever again. I remember waking up in the hospital staring at the ceiling and trying to get out of bed. My neck and back were shattered, which caused the loss of and strength in my arms and in my hands and complete use of my legs. That left me an incomplete quad. Soon enough, I figured out that I was paralyzed. It would be months, in fact, before I could feed myself, get dressed, use the restroom, or even get out of bed. I knew at that point my life had changed and would be different. My arms and legs felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds and like I was just stuck or tied down to the bed. You know, I made up my mind, and there was still a little voice inside me that wanted to survive and wanted to live. So at that point in time, I made a decision. It was time to sink or swim, and I decided to adapt and overcome. You know, as a young kid, I remember watching the Olympics on TV, and my favorite sport was always bobsled. You know, 15 years ago, I started the world's first ever para-bobsled team for amputees, paraplegics, injured veterans, and wheelchair athletes, known as the U.S. Adaptive Bobsled and Skeleton Association. I wanted wheelchair athletes and amputees to have an equal chance and an opportunity to participate and train on the track, and one day even compete in the sport. But I knew that this was not going to be easy. My drive to adapt and overcome was not going to be enough. I knew I'd have to engage track operators, coaches, international federations to get them to buy into the idea. And I knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but I'm not all about easy. So to begin our journey to Olympic gold in 2022, we need to raise funds to support the world's first ever combined para-able-bodied Olympic bobsled team. Together, I believe our partnership with your financial or in-kind support will help us win gold, make history, and achieve success both on and off the track. By joining our team, you'll have the opportunity to improve the life of others by changing perceptions, inspiring others, eliminating bias, and creating equal opportunities for all. To learn more about our team and how you can be a part of our Olympic journey, please log on to absa.org right now or email our team at bobsledgold@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time, consideration, and support, and God bless.
There you
Okay,
go.
that was pretty cool, Dave.
I know that guy.
So what I would like to do, if that's okay with you, I would like to open it up to some questions from our members of our congregation. And rather than having them speak, because people have different volumes, levels, and stuff like that, if people can type their messages on the chat, their questions, then Dave can answer them, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, that's fine. That works for me.
So, okay. By the way, while people start writing, I'll ask you a question. Well,
Sure.
This kind of explains it, but first of all, I saw that you have the sticker from Colorado State on the sled.
Yes.
Yeah, and Josh goes to that vet school. My son goes to that vet school, so I recognize that's the most expensive sticker in the world. Okay. Second thing is, so Joshua tells me that, is Dave like a millionaire, like a gazillionaire? I say, I don't know. I mean, why? He says, look, he goes to all these competitions and the sleds are like thousands of dollars. Like either he has like a huge bank account or like, how does he make this happen? So really, honestly, Dave, how do you make this happen? It's crazy. It's a tremendous expense.
Yeah, it really is. I've been lucky to come across, a few folks that were welcoming me to the congregation, for example, in Las Vegas, and some folks up here in Park City that really care about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. They believe in me. I guess you can't really beat a gold medal. So I'm a good driver. And I've just been lucky to have a few folks here and there help out. There's also been some grants that I was eligible for. And there was also, unfortunately, the mortgage on my house. And I'm just being honest, I did have to mortgage the house. But you do what you need to do to make things happen if you're going to win. And I believe that we have a winning team, a winning organization, and hopefully we'll have some partners that will be willing to journey with us all the way to 2022. Again, maybe there's a company there that someone knows that is looking for some international recognition when we're on the World Cups on TV or on our jackets or on the sleds or what have you. Maybe they want to share my message, to have equal opportunities in sport and to kind of deal with, anti-Semitism, if you will, the way that I'm dealing with it, and support the state of Israel and support what I'm doing.
So there's a couple of questions. First of all, I sent to the chat a scan that you sent me with some companies that you're looking for sponsorships from. If anyone looks at those companies and you know someone in that company that could help Dave, just let him know. It just takes to know someone that knows someone. That's how the doors start opening for Olympic athletes. Now, the question, Howard Kramer asked a question, what was it that hit you?
Oh, I apologize. I neglected to share that with you. Turned out that it was an out-of-control snowboarder that was on a closed course, because our course was just for running gates, bamboo poles in the snow. And this guy was out of control, 3:30 in the afternoon, thinks he can snowboard from the top of the mountain without taking a lesson. And the collision evidently caused him to go off the side of the trail. The other instructors and teammates came to help me. By the time they got me settled, if you will, with the Red Cross folks, he had evidently taken off. So it was kind of a hit and run, but it was an out of control snowboarder.
Wow. Another question is here. First of all, there's a lot of praise from people telling you that, you're inspiration. It's a privilege to listen to you and support you. DJ Sinai wants to know, this is a typical DJ question, by the way. Where did you get your drive and motivation? You say that saying no to a challenge is not an option. Did you grow up like this? Who was your influence to push you?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Thank you, DJ. Shall I sing the answer? I'll keep my day job. No, I think a lot of the motivation that I have comes from the fact that, in spite of the fact that I grew up 20 minutes, 30 minutes outside of New York City in Bergen County with a lot of Italians and a lot of Irish, there weren't a whole lot of Jewish families in my town. And I was unfortunately—
Oh, you should see it now. You should see it now.
I hope it's better than it was.
Oh yeah.
But I was one of those kids that was discriminated against, and was on the other end of a lot of anti-Semitism, a lot of anti-Semitic jokes, and it was bad. And I think it really affected me in my childhood. I was afraid to say that I was a Jew. I was afraid to wear a Jewish star. I was, and it really affected me. So that, and the fact that if I didn't achieve well in school, Mom, bless her soul, would have me eat the liver and onions, not only for breakfast, but for lunch and dinner the next day. So, you know, there's a little motivation going on there. So, and it wasn't chopped liver either, let me tell you. You know, a lot of my motivation really was also because of the accident, and I was not going to let this stop me. There's unfortunately a lot of people that do end up in bad situations with drug or alcohol, and they don't make it. And it's very easy to happen. But I had a mentor tell me, don't let the lows ever get too low, and don't let the highs ever get too high. And that has helped me out. But I try to stay motivated and challenged, and keeping my focus on those goals keep me moving forward. And I don't know if that answers your question or not, DJ, but thank you for asking. Any other questions?
No, there's more questions. What is Sharon wants to know? What's the difference between piloting?
Keeping my focus on those goals.
Oh, sorry. It's my Facebook feed interfering with our Zoom. Sorry. Now, okay. So Sharon wants to know what's the difference between piloting a 2-man bobsled and a 4-man bobsled.
Good question. With a 4-man, first they don't let you go near a 4-man until you've been driving for 3, 4, 5 years at least. And the reason for that is in a 2-man, if you make a mistake, it's a lot easier to correct because the length of the sled, it's a lot easier to control. In a 4-man sled, if you make a mistake, it's very, very difficult to correct that, which means there's a much higher degree and chance of crashing. And anytime you crash, I know it doesn't look like it on TV because most of the time everybody gets up and walks away. A lot of times that's really not the case. People have a broken arm, they have, head injuries, internal injuries, they're dizzy, they have concussions. Think about it. If you've ever been in a car crash, crashing in a bobsled, it continues for like a minute and it doesn't stop. As I say, you're going 80, 100 miles an hour. So you really have to know what you're doing in terms of picking your lines, driving a 4-man versus a 2-man. Funny enough, where you put the sled, it goes most of the time with a 4-man. So in one essence, it's a little easier to drive, but if you make a mistake, you can't get out of trouble. It's very difficult. So they only let senior experienced drivers pilot the 4-man. And as I say, thank you to Temple Beth Sholom and everyone that helped support us last season. We were able to get our the first sled, the red sled, a used 4-man sled, and we competed in Park City and actually took 6th place without me running and without the guys really having all their cadences down and running at full speed. And unfortunately, Rabbi, the Jamaica team crashed, a couple other teams crashed, but I just did what I had to do and we won. So it was good.
This is, Temple Beth Sholom has had U.S. senators, ambassadors, Congress people, mayors, I mean, you name it. And now we're going to be the home of the Israeli bobsled team. I'm so happy. I'm so proud, right? Only in Las Vegas, like they say. Look, I cannot tell you what an incredible privilege it is to be able to meet you and to spend time with you, Dave, and to just watch you. I mean, it's really tremendous. Not only what you do for the inspiration of people to challenge themselves, but for the Jewish people. So you're like getting 2 birds with 1 stone there. It's an unbelievable story. And if you could see that the comments on Facebook, they're all amazing comments like, oh my God, it's amazing. We love him. If people will come to shul, if they come to services, they'll see you, right? Maybe we have to have you there more often so they can actually come and see you. Maybe that'll be get them in, because clearly I'm not bringing them in, or I don't know why they're not coming, but clearly before the pandemic, of course. But everybody says it's a very inspirational thing. And somebody asks here on Facebook, are you a spiritual person? I'm just going to ask you that because I want to make sure that I ask all the questions.
Yeah, no, I appreciate whoever asked that question. Yes, I'm a firm believer. I'm grounded in my faith, and I feel lucky to have the opportunity that I have. These medals don't just happen when you're talking about, winning or losing in a sport by, as I said earlier, not just a minute or a second. It can be a tenth of a second or a hundredth of a second. So you have to be focused. You have to be settled. You have to have a firm, solid foundation. And part of that is my spirituality and my love for Judaism.
Okay, look, Brenda Katz just asked me if there's a way to get this hour on tape to share with others. Brenda, yes, unfortunately, I started recording the Zoom late, but it will be recorded on YouTube and on Facebook. And I will send a link to the entire congregation so you can access the video whenever you'd like, and you can replay it and show it to your friends. Actually, that's what we want. We want Dave to even become even more famous, because I want to make it to the Beijing Olympics as the official rabbi of the Israeli bobsled team. I'm just kidding. But I don't need an excuse to go to China. But hopefully by 2022, we'll be able to go catch you there, Dave. It'll be incredible.
It would be an honor, Rabbi, to have you there, and really other folks from the congregation. But as I said, it's definitely it's going to be a challenge. But I have a coach who really believes in me and believes in our team and what we're doing. I'm really looking forward to hopefully maybe with some networking, identifying some solid partners that believe in, as I say, what we're doing and why we're doing it. Again, it's my love of Israel, my love of Judaism, my love of sports. And, I think it's time that people see that, that we're just like anybody else, and it's time to come together. It's time to have some peace. And if we can do it through sport and we can eliminate some discrimination, we can change some people's mindsets and attitudes. We can do it via sport and via bobsled. Why not? I mean, I really feel blessed to be in this position because it is a little bit crazy, and but it's an awesome opportunity. I see somebody else I think has another question.
Well, it just says is school running soon in the future? Making a movie. I just said if they're gonna make a movie, I want Tom Cruise to play me. Okay, that's the only thing I want. Okay.
We can get you in the in the sled too, Rabbi, if you really want.
That's a scary thing. I don't know. Mexicans and bobsledding, that doesn't really go very well. Not really. Okay, Dave. Listen, I know it's late in Park City. I know you have to train. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this. And hopefully we'll see you soon again. We'll see you. Look, when you're in Las Vegas, you actually come to Temple. Even during the pandemic, you've been there. Mask and everything. So I am so proud that you're a member of our congregation, and anything we can do for you, we're here. Okay, and we're gonna keep on trying. I'm gonna send this to my colleagues. I'm gonna, some of them already want to have you in their Zooms in their congregations, and it's a wonderful story to tell. Wonderful story.
Rabbi, I appreciate that because here's the thing, and I would appreciate any feedback from anyone in the congregation about the presentation or the video. Again, my email is bobsledgold@gmail.com. But here's what I'll put out there. If there was an opportunity for the sled to be painted with A, a bottle of Manischewitz, B, a bottle of Sieg's gin, or a set of dice, because that's how I roll. You guys let me know what you prefer, and let's make it happen.
I prefer the Manischewitz bottle with the dice inside.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. It's been my pleasure. It's been my honor. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you soon, okay? Have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody. It's wonderful to have you on the Zoom and on Facebook and on our live stream. And we'll see you soon. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.